The Republican Party is in search of a winner and a winning formula. Joe Scarborough has some recommendations. In 1994, he was the first Republican congressman elected by his Florida district in 120 years.
Look at Joe Scarborough.
Where did you get these
Still
pictures?
got that hair.
Oh, my God.
For the past 6 years, he's been debating politics and policy as host of Morning Joe on MSNBC. His new book is called The Right Path, From Ike to Reagan, How Republicans Once Mastered Politics and Can Again. And Joe Scarborough joins us at the table.
It's great to be here.
And we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Where in your book you describe yourself as, I love this, proudly defiant Republican. The way forward begins with a look back. What should we be looking back for?
Well, I would personally recommend Republicans look back to when they won elections. You know, we've lost 5 out of the last six when it comes to the popular vote.
Yeah.
Before that, we won 5 out of the last 6, and there's a reason why, because people like Reagan, Nixon, for the Watergate thing, and Ike figured out how to make conservatism connect with middle America. They were pragmatic. They were conservative ideologically, but they were also pragmatic politically.
Isn't it always true that when a party seems like it is in a bad shape, it is a candidate, somebody comes along, as Clinton did, as Reagan did. It's always a candidate that changes a party.
You're exactly right, and I'm glad you brought up Clinton, because people ask, well, I mean, has any party ever gone so far astray as the Republican Party is right now? Yes. Democrats did it, as you remember. I mean, they got clobbered every 4 years in the 80s and early 90s. It took them getting routed for 12 years before they finally said, you know what? We're going to get a Southerner who's a Southern Baptist, who's conservative to moderate, and we're going to nominate him.
Joe, you do write that Reagan knew that conservative ideology worked best when married to moderate temperament. So who's out there in the Republican Party that's like that now?
Well, obviously, a lot of people are going to be looking at Christie. And what I find interesting is Christie won the Hispanic vote. He won women, despite the fact he's the first pro-life candidate to governor in New Jersey since Roe v. Wade was passed. It became law in 1973.
He had a weak opponent.
He had a weak opponent, but that didn't just happen by chance. There are a lot of Democrats who would have liked to be governor in New Jersey.
And they say the turnout wasn't that high either.
Whatever.
You look at that.
Come on.
But they do say,
because you know why?
Joe,
A lot of depressed Democrats stated, there is no spinning this. Christie did a great job in a state that Barack Obama dominated. And again, the reason why is because Christie figured out how to blend conservatism with pragmatism, and he appealed to everybody. You know, Ronald Reagan won 49 states because he had the Ted Cruzes of the party and the Colin Powells of the party under the same big tent.
You're talking about having under the same tent. I've talked to Republicans, so I know you know this, say, let's have this fight. Let's have the fight. They had the fight in this Alabama special election where business interests went out and they backed someone to defeat the Tea Party candidate, and the business interests won. And they're using that, as you know, the Republican Party saying this can be a model for the national elections. Is it going to be that? Is it going to be we can all live under the same tent? Or is it going to be a fight for the heart of the Republican Party?
It just depends. Does the Republican Party want to win or do they want to lose? As everybody knows, I'm an Alabama fan. There's a reason why Nick Saban keeps winning national championships, because he obsesses on one thing, winning national championships. If we're fighting
and
each
then along
other.
comes Florida State.
Yeah, then along comes Florida State. And we beat them too, even though I'm from Northwest Florida. But I'm partially serious. You win when you obsess about winning. You change America when you obsess about changing America, and we can't change America if we're having ideological fights.
But is it inevitable when you've got Ted Cruz and even Rick Perry out of the same state want to be president?
I'm not too concerned about Rick Perry's footprint in national politics in the future.
Are you concerned about Ted Cruz's footprint?
No, I'm really not, because you know what? Ted Cruz, he had a baptism of fire. Ted Cruz learned an awful lot, and he learned what Ronald Reagan and Ike knew. You can only push the American people so far.
What about the Democrats? Is it inevitable that Hillary will be the nominee?
I don't think it is. Everybody that is saying it's inevitable that she's going to be the nominee today, were saying it was going to be inevitable in 2006. And then David Geffen talked to the New York Times, and other Democrats started saying, well, I kind of agree with what he said. I don't think that it's a fait accompli.
Which raises the question, does it have to be a woman, and therefore Elizabeth Warren?
I think Elizabeth, if you want to excite true believers, get Elizabeth Warren out on the campaign trail. We interviewed her during the Senate campaign up at Fenway, and I turned to Mika halfway through the interview and said, she's about as good as I've seen. You know, she's like the natural.
And then there is you. People look at you on the program, they look at your record in Congress when you were there, and they look at how you talk about politics, and they say, Joe Scarborough wants to be president. And a lot of this is about
a Rotary Club, maybe, of a Rotary Club.
No, they say two things,
yeah.
that in fact his television experience is a very good thing. It's given him a national platform, and that's really good if you want to run for president. They say that. On the other hand, they say, if you're on television all the time, you give so much ammunition to somebody who may want to oppose a candidacy.
I've only said on TV what I believe.
Yeah.
Now, there are a couple of issues that obviously, if I ever ran in a Republican primary, I'm sure a lot of gun owners would be asking me where my positions after Newtown, and I'm fine with it because it's not like I would go out changing my positions anyway.
Are you interested in running again or something?
You know, down the road I am. I've got a 10-year-old daughter, Kate, we were talking about before. Kate has let me know she's done enough moving around, and I'm not allowed to get into office until she's out of high school.
So I'm thinking...
That's not a problem, is it?
I'm going to have to compromise with her. 8 years. I'm an old guy.
So, Joe, how about the slogan, Go with Joe?
That's a good one. You have any more?
Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
Always welcome here, Joe Scarborough. And
Good,
Mika's
I'll
in
come
the green
tomorrow.
room, too.
She is.
Do you and Mika just travel together wherever you go?
Everywhere.
That's what I'm
Absolutely
thinking.
everywhere
Hello,
we
Mika.
go.
What are you reading, Mika Brzezinski?
I'm between a rock and the right.
All right.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to see you, Mika, too. Joe Scarborough, we thank you, of course.
Thanks a lot.
The Right Path is on sale wherever you like to buy your books right now.